Hi, and welcome along to episode 5 of the Arsenal Way. I'm Ashwin and that's Samrit. And today we have our first guest on the show, Karan Chechani. He's a dear friend of mine.
Hi.
Before I get into a little introductions with him, I'd just like to say, please guys, if you can like, share, and subscribe to our channel, it will really help us grow. And if anybody's new to the channel, just hit the button and subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notifications every time we come up with videos. We do 2 videos a week, so you can help us grow and help us reach out to new people. So I'm just going to let Karan introduce himself and let's start from there.
Sure. Thanks, Ashwin. I think it's great to be on over here. I've seen the first three podcasts, in fact, and it's been great. Excited to be over here. So I've been watching Arsenal, I think, since about 2006.
Mm-hmm.
My first memory is of, I think, Henry scoring at the White Hart Lane. And it's been super great. I mean, it's been a up and down journey, as we all know. In the early years,
Arsenal
it's
fans.
been great, but it's all about supporting the club and supporting the players through everything. I think this is a testing time anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
it's always enjoyable watching Arsenal because they're a special team.
It's great. So we thought we'd do something different this time because it's the international break, and we thought we'd start introducing a few guests to the show. So it's great to have Karan on the show. So let's begin with this. I have a few questions for you guys, and let's just take it from there. So
Sure.
far, so we've played about 8 games. Um, so I just like to get your thoughts on how we played. I mean, if you can start with you, Karan.
I mean, I think obviously the football hasn't been great, and just to put it out there, it's been testing at times.
Mm-hmm.
There have been obvious problems, uh, but we're somewhere in the table, I guess. I mean, looking at the football, I would never imagine us being third, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's uh, it's it's testing, but I guess there I don't see any plan, to be honest. That's one of the biggest problems that we've had. That's one of the biggest problems with the manager or the head coach per se. The exciting part is the younger players, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I really look forward to watching, especially with the EFL and the Europa League. And I think I've been really excited to watch a couple of them play in the Premier League as well, and that's happening now with Saka, and I'm hoping Willock this weekend gets a chance as well in the midfield. Super excited to see Tierney holding into part of the backcourt. I think they're going to add a lot of strength to our defense. But I guess the most enjoyable games have been the games not in the Premier League, to be honest. And I think I don't know if that's exactly because of the tactics that we're playing or the players that we're playing. I think would love to know what you all think about that as well.
I think Samrit and we have discussed this on every single podcast. I don't want to start with the Emery bashing right now, so I'll probably let Samrit take this away for now.
I think the football has been interesting, to say the least, without giving it any sort of color. Um, like I agree with Karan, the exciting games have been the ones in the cups, the Europa League, the Carabao Cup. The Premier League has been dire. It's very reminiscent of our run that we had last year, where we went 22 unbeaten. We were just about nicking games, just about scraping through. Um, and yeah, I mean, and Karan's right when he says we're not really sure. And like I keep saying pretty much every week, we're not sure of our tactics, we're not sure of our best 11. Whether that's Emery waiting for key players to come back, um, not Ozil. Maybe he's waiting for the likes of a Bellerin or a Tierney or a Holding. And something that you and I, Ashwin, have spoken about in the past as well, that maybe we might see a different Arsenal once he's got his players back. I have my reservations on that, but I'm willing to give him his time. I mean, I can, like, there are no two polarizing views here. You can be not happy with the football and also appreciate the fact that we're third, a point behind the current champions, and of course Liverpool look untouchable this season. So that's where I'm at. I'm just waiting for the youngsters, the injury prone folks to come back. And yeah, and Karan's right. The youngsters have been great. Saka, your the likes of Willock, the likes of Martinelli. Tierney's been great as well in the couple of games he's played. So that's where I'm at. I mean, it's a good space to be in. Definitely huge room for improvement.
Okay, so I mean, both of you both mentioned that we're third on the table. We're behind last year's European champions and last year's Premier League champions, and we've only lost about one game, while City have in fact lost two games. So 8 games in, let me ask you this: who so far has impressed you the most? Who do you think so far has been our player of the season?
So I think I'll then break it up into which parts of the queen that I think have been the best players from. So let's say in attack, it's obviously very clearly Aubameyang has been great. Midfield, Willock's been great. Um, the defense, I will go for slightly. Maybe you guys will agree with this. I'd go for Chambers. He's been fabulous right throughout. Every game he's come on, he's done his job. He's not really made a fuss about it. From centre back to right back, has been a more than capable replacement for Maitland-Niles, and I think he probably will get that spot now as a backup to Bellerin than Niles.
Would you prefer
That's
him
where
at,
I'm with those three.
Would you prefer him at centre back or right back?
He looks comfortable both now. I think that those loan spells at Borough and Fulham have done him no been really great for him. So I think I would probably play him at either, and it's good to have versatility. You have a player who can play both roles. Maybe he's lacking a little bit of pace at right back, but so far he's been great.
So, but if you had to pick one player so far, player of the season for you,
one player, then yeah, Aubameyang, no doubts about it. He's won us points, won us games, and so far kept Emery away from the mob as such. Yeah.
Karan, what about you? Player of the season for you so
far? I mean, it has to be Aubameyang for me, to be honest. His goals have really helped us a lot. But I think apart from that obvious choice, in terms of character, in terms of what he's doing on the field and his behavior on the field, I think Matteo has been great. He's been outstanding. Obviously, there are places where he lacks certain discipline in terms of positioning, and obviously there are certain aspects or there are certain flaws in his game. But I think there's a certain will that he shows when we're down or when we're not doing well, which is exceptional to see. I would like to see that for all the 11 players that are there on the pitch. I'm not saying there's a certain player who's not showing that, but I'm just saying that the way he's going about it is great for me to see. And that's just like, I'm looking for certain parts, or after the game I look for certain clips where he just does certain things which just shows you how much passion he has for the game. And that is really exciting. So I think from the outside, obviously there's Aubameyang, who's been absolutely outstanding for us. But for me, apart from all the younger players and apart from breakouts, I think Guendouzi has been that guy for me.
I mean, I think what you say like makes complete sense, because Auba, you can quantify the sort of work that he does because you can quantify it by the goals that he scores. It becomes easier for you to say that Auba is the player of the season, and that's probably where a midfielder kind of loses that, because he's not scoring enough goals, but at the same time we're leaking goals as well. So you tend to overlook the sort of things that maybe what Guendouzi is doing, the sort of passion he's bringing and the fight that he's bringing. But you're right. Like if I had to pick between the two player of the season so far for us, is between Guendouzi and Aubameyang, and they both have been fantastic. It's just that I feel that I don't know if it's the setup that is not allowing maybe Guendouzi to shine enough, or if it is the tactics that are not letting him do it. But I think we should be able to. I don't know if we can build the team around him, but at least put more of the play more around him in terms of that, right? I think we were mentioning this in terms with like Ceballos as well. I don't think we are really dominating in midfield right now, even though we're playing three in midfield on a constant basis. I don't think we're dominating there. And that was something that the teams in the past under Wenger used to do a lot. We used to dominate midfield, and that's where we used to win games. So I think Emery needs to really sort out his midfield and figure out who his starting 11 is properly, because I mean, I know you can't drop Xhaka, but at the same time, you have Joe Willock, who started really well. You've got Guendouzi, who started really well. You have Ceballos, who's doing really well. You've got Torreira, who comes when he plays the number 6 role, he does really well. So it's something that Emery's got to really pick and decide and say, okay, maybe for this opposition, this team works, and he's, I think, got to be a little more proactive with his midfield and start maybe controlling more of the game through the midfield. Right?
Personally on that point, I don't think Emery wants to set up a team that is controlling the game. I think that personally, I just feel that he wants to play on the counter. He wants to play um, like in the transition, and there's been a lot of merit in that particular argument. And I think um, I'm not really even sure if that's gonna it's gonna help Antonio Bellerin or holding her back in this team, or he gets that midfield composition right. But I just feel that that's the kind of game that he wants to play. And I think the front line is also like it would suit Pepe a lot more because he's used to playing that kind of football with Lille last year. But I just feel that Emery is that kind of a manager where he's trying that particular game plan per se. I think we've seen enough probably last season as well where he was trying to do that a little bit in. I think I saw a lot more game plan in his first 3 games than I've in last season when he was the manager than I've ever seen the rest of the games. But there are a lot of there's a lot of evidence in terms of that's how he wants to play. And I personally feel Guendouzi and Bilic are perfect for that kind of midfield as well, or that kind of game plan in the midfield. And with the fullbacks coming back in, uh, we can have a lot more impact on the game. Probably not in terms of possession, but in terms of probably the chances created and the goal scored as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So are we sticking to more or less Aubameyang being the player of the season so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, yes.
Yeah, just in terms of quantifying what he's been doing, the points won, goal scored, I think, Aubameyang so far, yeah.
All right, then let's move forward. Young player of the season for you, the under 23 so far. Who's impressed you the most?
It's a tough choice. I think the younger players, just in general, have been super impressive. For me, this might be a slightly biased choice, but I'll go for Joe Willock. I think he ended last season on a high because he was obviously in the in the Europa squad for the final and things like that. But I just feel we've been crying out for a midfielder or a central midfielder to burst out, or for to Wenger to buy a central midfielder and things like that. He just feels very reminiscent of the great midfielders that we've had at the club. And I don't want to go too far with this, but I just feel that for me, he's shown a lot for us to be excited about. And I think he has great technical skill and ability. He's also unfazed at this level and at this age, and I think he can do really, really, really well.
I think we discussed this in the third pod. When I was really impressed with Emery actually picking him for the Liverpool game at Anfield. Okay, I know we lost the game, but Joe Willock shone that day. Why did he drop him after that? Why would you kill his confidence? I still don't understand.
Yeah. I think he should be a part of a midfield. Definitely part of midfield. And I think that kind of then stems from Emery's reliance on Xhaka and how do we solve that midfield problem. I don't know. I don't know when is going to be that trigger point or tipping point when he actually drops Xhaka from the midfield.
Again, he's going to drop Xhaka anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't see how, because Matteo and Xhaka are going to be in the midfield then. So the third spot is then open for, I guess, the 3 midfielders that we have, Torreira, Ceballos, or Willock. And for me, Willock should be in that midfield, hands down. And I know there are certain merits of obviously playing Torreira and Ceballos as well. But I just feel that, the way he's played all throughout the season, I think he should be there and given a sustained chance.
You're also missing out on another very important midfielder, Mesut Ozil.
I think I don't know. I've read so much on the. I mean, this international break is anyway killing me. So I've been reading on all the conspiracy theories on all whatever is going on with him. I'm not.
Apparently, put his house for sale. Apparently,
um, I if I think Rahul also came out and spoke about Ozil over the past couple of days. Emery said his word. To be honest, I think I agree with a lot of people who are saying, with Ozil, the thing was when he was playing, he saw there were certain aspects that were missing with his game, and he wasn't contributing. And now it's that part where he's not there. We're obviously realizing that we have a player like Mesut Ozil, obviously with the technical skill and ability, and we're not seeing him on the bench or not seeing him on the pitch, and we're saying that, hey, look, Emery needs to play him and things like that. I just feel that the managers or the head coach and the management has taken a certain decision with him, uh, and we should kind of respect that. And I just feel that I think the season started fine. I think probably the Kolasinac and the Ozil incident kind of derailed his season a little bit as well. Um, I I do feel that he'll have a part to play, probably not again in the what do you call the physically intense games in the Premier League. But I feel that the management has the right, because we've always known certain aspects about Ozil, right? He can't do certain aspects of the game. He can't play. He can't play in a certain manner.
but you
If
don't.
the team
But he's so good doing what he does. Why would you want him to do something he's not good at? Why would you see? Isn't it a stamp of a good manager that he can basically take the best players and build a team around them instead of having to put players in his formations and his structure? Like, wouldn't you like
right.
Jose Mourinho, for all the defensive football he plays, his favorite number 10 player in the world is Mesut Ozil, right?
No, absolutely. Mesut Ozil is an exceptional player, but I feel football just generally across. I don't know if this is a particular philosophy, but we've seen football just become a lot more dynamic in the past decade or so. I'm not saying Ozil is not equipped to play that kind of football, but I just feel that at least in the Premier League, with even the lower teams or the mid-table teams, it's a lot more about the team playing as a unit. And I just feel that for Mesut Ozil to play that game, it gets a little difficult, and it is very essential for him to have that particular. Uh, there is a coach that is demanding that kind of play. I mean, you look at Leicester, you look at Bournemouth, you look at a lot of these other teams. They're playing as units, probably not with the caliber of players that your top four teams may have or just may not have, but they are playing a certain dynamic game, and that involves all your players to be playing that game. I think the age and the time of building a team around Mesut Ozil has gone,
It's gone.
because he is also approaching 30. I mean, he is 30 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just recently checking. I was shocked that he joined us at 25. It's incredible to imagine that Mesut Ozil joined us at 25. Uh, but I again feel that Wenger tried that, right? Wenger did build a team around Ozil. You have to give a new manager a chance to be able to build his own team, which may not include Mesut Ozil. And there's no evidence that he has a certain grouse against Mesut Ozil, but uh, right now, from what they're saying, he's not putting in a certain effort, or he's not showing something in training that would demand him or would remit or give him that chance to play in the starting level.
I think we're digressing a little bit. Before we talk about the Ozil situation, let's just go to Sam and ask him what his favorite under 23 player of the season has been so far.
I think tough choice. I mean, I'd go for Willock just because he's a Hale End product. That's my only preference over Guendouzi. And I'd probably just stick with that because I think he's been phenomenal. Being picked for games such as Liverpool, whenever he's come on, he's been a dynamic force trying to push the team forward. And as Karan said, the point with both of these not only both of these, but any youngsters coming in seems to drive the team forward. Literally, winners games, the Villa game, for example, where Guendouzi was brilliant in the second half. So I think just that characteristic which you would expect senior players and more seasoned pros to have. Both of these players have got it.
I think the kids play the
Yeah,
sort of fearless football that we want them to
yeah,
play week in week out. You know, I think it's that if you go back to the time when Wenger had like Carlos Vela in his team and Nicholas Bentner and all those guys coming through when the younger lot were there. I remember he would play them in the Carling Cup as well, and then we'd win games 5-0, 6-0 because these guys would play fearless football. They would want to
yeah.
impress and they want to push for the starting 11. I think it's the same here as well. I think a senior team is. I don't know again if it's down to tactics, if it's down to not having enough possession, if it's down to the structure of the way we set up. But you can see a stark contrast between our first 11 versus the kids that are playing. And
And I think that has remained right throughout.
yeah,
The kids whenever they've come on, be it when Arsene was around, or
Mhm.
even currently, they seem to play with a lot more freedom of how and the ability to express themselves a lot more than the senior team. Also, I guess that has to do with the fact that they're not playing week in week out.
Mhm.
There's less pressure on them. There are less eyes on them. The Premier League is invariably but at least the home games are packed with crowd, people who, and Arsenal fans, especially how finicky we are, just baying for blood for even the smallest things, which I think they're willing to pass I mean, let small errors go, especially when the younger kids are playing.
Mhm.
So I think that also plays into it, which just emphasizes the fact that how important fans are. I guess um, backing players, backing teams is as important as winning games. I guess that's why they call them 12th man, kind of will the team on to from improbable situations. But yeah, I think that's where I am. I think both Guendouzi and Willock have been stars so far.
Right. So then moving on, let me see which players actually surprised you the most so far this season. Samrat, let's start with you.
Surprised, I would have to say Chambers.
Uh-huh.
Especially when after being relegated with Fulham, after playing multiple positions at Fulham, and maybe everyone was expecting him to, just be a bit part player and not really get game time, and maybe not perform up to the level that is now expected at Arsenal, especially with the new changes, new manager. I think he's been a great surprise. He's done well whenever he's come on. The clean sheet at Newcastle, last week's performance,
Clean sheet as well.
clean sheet as well. He's making that right back position his own, and he's taking a claim to start games for us. I haven't seen him do anything wrong to not start games.
Question is, when Hector
Maybe
comes back, do you drop him for Hector or do you
no,
wait?
maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, when Hector comes back, Hector is obviously our first choice. But maybe try and accommodate him, see if the likes of him and a Holding can play together, or if they're too similar, maybe try and pair them up with one of the more senior right backs, with senior centre backs. I'm sorry. But no, I think Hector coming back is obviously first choice.
Mhm.
Because he doesn't command the pace that Emery likes to see in his players.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why he won't get to start once Hector comes back. But I think he's done a more than fabulous job, both at right back and centre back when called upon. What more validation would you require than Emery starting him the first game of the season away at Newcastle after coming back on loan, having played multiple positions for a team that got relegated. I think that's added to his character, that's added to his skill set, that's made him a better player, which is going to bode well for us, assuming he sticks around and we don't get rid of him for a new defensive signing in the coming windows.
Fair enough. Karan, what about you?
I think I would agree with Samnit over there as well. I mean, for me, Chambers is the player who surprised me the most. I think before we started the season, we were in kind of a little bit of a panic in terms of the defensive choices that we had.
Mhm.
I think, especially for the first game as well, it seemed really, really, really with Holding out and Mustafi obviously sidelined. It seemed like I mean, it seemed very shaky to be honest. But Chambers, to his credit, has just come in and played a solid game. As Samrat said, I don't think he's done anything wrong. I am actually excited. I feel centre back is his position, and
Mhm.
that's the position that he's fighting for as well. but it's been great to see him kind of come in and slot in at right back as well. Um, um, I'm really excited to see uh, a chance to see him and Holding play. I think Chambers is really good on the ball as well.
Mhm.
Uh, what really surprised me about Chambers is just his skill with the ball. I think
Yeah.
his technique is great. I don't know why I had this perception that he was a little clumsy on the ball. Maybe hadn't seen him play in a while, but I think somewhere I'd seen a clip on Twitter as well where he was just doing keepy ups with someone before the game as well. He's really good with the ball, and I think uh, we've seen a lot of crosses from him on the right hand side where he's just uh, uh, on the first touch itself, he's just put it in with precision and accuracy. I think it's been really good to see.
Mhm.
So I think he surprised me. I think uh, I would choose. I think Martinelli slightly as well has
Mhm.
surprised me in terms of the way he's burst onto the scene. I did not expect this. I don't remember. We've gone through a lot of young strikers with promise, not to mention Sanogo, but I think Martinelli is just come in and burst on the scene. And I think this last game that he played. The last game that he started, even on the left wing, he was. I don't know if the Standard Liège players were just tired or what it was. He was just running them ragged, and he could have easily had a hat trick. But I think Chambers, from a first team perspective, has been the one that surprised me the most as well.
So
Just one point, just a point on, sorry, Ashwin, just a point on what Karan said about Chambers' technique. That goal that he scored with the outside of his foot,
yes.
that epitomizes exactly what Karan's saying. His it's and you he doesn't come across as someone who's got that in him.
Mhm.
But that was an example of how good he is, and he's done that in the past as well. I think 2 seasons ago he was scored
Got
at
a
home
similar
a
goal.
very similar goal. Very similar goal. So yeah, he does have that, and I'm glad it's coming to fruition. I hope he sticks around and we don't get rid of him because he's a good backup so far.
So the thing is, Chambers played a lot of last season at CDM last year at Fulham. Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think that maybe if we can probably drop Karan Chechani or maybe like or Torreira is not there, you think we can play him there? Does that work for you guys?
I don't know. I don't think he's. I mean, playing CDM for Fulham versus playing CDM for Arsenal, I think they're two very different kettle of fish. He again, he surprised us. He might just do a good job. I
Hmm.
just rather use our our only CDM, which is Torreira, as that screening man in front of our back four than use someone who's only played there in bits and pieces for a team like Fulham. So yeah, I not right now. I'd start if CDM is the way to go in this 11, then Torreira starts for me than Chambers.
Fair enough. So moving on now, we've spoken about the guys that have surprised you. Let's talk about the guys that have disappointed you the most. Is there one player that is really like you were looking forward to and has really disappointed you this season?
Uh, for me, I think uh, it's been Luis and Socrates, to be honestly.
Mhm.
To be honest, I think more than Luis, it's been Socrates. I felt that he was pretty solid last season, to be honest. I think I don't know. Probably it's lack of a solid defensive partner or just that stability that he had. It's something I expect more from Socrates because of his performances last season as well.
Mhm.
There have been points where he's uh, not looked solid at all. To be honest, he's looked clumsy. And I think that goal that he conceded, where he just passed the ball straight to the player,
Mhm.
was one. I don't expect him to do that. He's a no nonsense defender. He's uh, that's been the most disappointing for me. I expect him to kind of shore up and become look a lot more confident this season. I don't know why it's happened. To be honest, I can only just probably think that it's a new defensive partner in Luis that's probably coming in, and that's kind of uh, destabilized the defense a little bit.
I think we mentioned this both Simon, Samriddhi and me that it's not Socrates' game to play out of the back, and I think he was being forced by the way that Emery wanted to play out of the back. So I mean, you can't really blame him also because you need those sort of players to play out of the back. Like if you see, even with United, when they try playing out of the back, David De Gea is not the keeper, the sweeper keeper that who comes and he's good with his feet. He's better with his hands. He's not like your Allisons. He's not like even like Bern Leno is better with the ball. Like we saw Czech struggling the same way last year, right? So I think you've got to probably take that with the probably give him a benefit of the doubt there. It's you trying to force him to do something he's not really good at. That's what I personally feel.
That probably after that game, I think we probably had a Carling Cup game or a Europa game after that, and Emi Martinez was playing that game.
Mhm.
Somehow, I just felt that I don't know because we saw that kind of goal conceded, or we had a lot of uh, interceptions with the short kick, even with Matteo. Um, um, Emi Martinez was a little bit more confident of playing it long as well. He could just command his defense and say that, look, I'm playing it long. Over here, I get where you're saying that probably the coach had demanded that you play out from the back.
Mhm.
But I just feel that Socrates being Socrates, and he is a leader, right? He's one of the senior pros of the team. Um, there's a situation that demands that you don't play it out of the back, and he can kind of demand that as well.
Mhm.
Being the senior most pro along with Luis in that back four. So I've, I mean, from that particular aspect, I do understand it's a mandate, but I don't think this playing out of the back needs to be done like
On the constant.
99 out of 100
Yeah.
times, yeah, all the time. Because we saw how we can do it and mix it up. And
Yeah.
Martinez's distribution in the next game was fantastic. And nothing against Leno's distribution, it's great as well. But I just felt that we mixed it up really well in the. I don't remember if it was the Europa or the Carling Cup, but we mixed it up really well.
I think the last game that we played at the Emirates, we did that a little better as well. We weren't just sticking to playing it out of the back. We played a few long balls. We tried to actually hit it out. We tried to hit it to Callum Chambers on the right for him to win those headers. So I see a little progress there. But at the same time, I feel that when you try to force somebody to do something, you're bound to get mistakes coming out of them, right? Like it's not their natural game. You rather have a defender, say like you have Van Dijk who can play out of the back, so you can trust him to do that. Maybe okay, Luis can play out of the back, you can trust him to do that. But that's not Socrates' game. He's like a no nonsense defender. He's just there. He doesn't. It's not him to play tippy tappy in the box, and you saw that we messed up with Watford and we conceded a goal immediately there. So I guess that's something for us to learn by. And maybe also another thing is Socrates looked better last year because he was partnering Mustafi, where most of the limelight was on Mustafi at the same time. Because you could see every time he did something, it would be highlighted. So maybe that took the pressure off Socrates a little bit. So again, this year, new partnership, trying to get that stable. Again, trying to play out of the back, all that. So there's more scrutiny both on Luis and Socrates this year. So I feel it should get a little better for us. But maybe there is a shout for maybe a Chambers or a Holding to come in and replace the two of them, give them some time off, and then get them sort their heads out and then come back and get better for the team. What do you think, Samrit? Most disappointing player for you?
Most disappointing, I think. I agree with Karan. Socrates has been. I mean, you would have expected him to take over the senior role out of the two. Once you had a new face like Luis to come and tell him what went wrong last season and maybe guide him better. But I'd probably, and as much as I've supported the guy, I won't go for Socrates. I will go for Xhaka.
Okay.
And not because of, I mean, obviously the high profile errors that he invariably makes,
Mhm.
the penalty at Tottenham. There's just he brings, and I understand the positives. You and I have spoken about it about him in the past, and I like him I like him in the team. I want him to be there in the team. I just think that his transitional play is not conducive to our 11.
Mhm.
While he brings his vertical movement of the ball that nobody else really has in the team, the pace of transition from defense to midfield and then moving forward with Xhaka and Guendouzi, both there in the midfield is slow, and that dynamic immediately changes when Xhaka is replaced or Guendouzi is replaced by the likes of a Willock. So while I like that midfield trio of someone like a Ceballos who's a ball carrier, and then you have he's got a box to box in the form of a Guendouzi, and you've got Xhaka to have a different style of game completely. Um, I just think that could be maybe built better, or maybe Xhaka can become a little bit more commanding. Look, he's not going to become a defensive midfielder. He was never a defensive midfielder.
Mhm.
I think for someone who's now captain of the club, who's got keys to the club, to use an often used phrase with Xhaka, I think he can do a lot better. That area of his game can improve. He's cut down a lot on his shooting. I haven't seen him shoot as much this season as I did seasons before. But now, because of the responsibility that he's gotten, he needs to take that a little bit more seriously. I'm sure he already does, but maybe work on that aspect of his game. Um, Maybe that'll just get a little better once he has a natural holding player like a Torreira starting with him. So maybe a Torreira, Xhaka, Ceballos, or a Torreira, Xhaka, Willock would maybe make sense. But yeah, I think that he's someone who I think has been disappointing. I still want him around. I don't think he will ever get dropped. I wouldn't like to see him get dropped. I think he can definitely do better. Close second would be Socrates. Then obviously, I agree with Karan with the points he made.
I think I'm going to go with a different player completely. I'm not going to bring Pepe into this. I know a lot of people will probably be talking about Pepe because of the price tag and everything. But I mean, I don't want to judge him till maybe after we've given him 6 months to at least a year to settle in because it takes some time. And obviously, he's coming with such a big price tag, so people are expecting him to come in and start performing straight away. I think for me, disappointing has been a little bit in terms of I can look at Reece Nelson a little bit. We had a lot of expectations from Reece because we let Alex Iwobi go. We wanted to blood in the youngsters. We got Martinelli in, we got Saka in, we got Reece Nelson in. And to be fair, Reece Nelson was given his chance for the first 3 games, and he didn't really live up to the billing. I don't know if that. I mean, obviously there's a difference between the German league and the Premier League, and a lot of people were expecting him to come and tear up the Premier League like he did the German league last year. But I feel Reece Nelson's been a little disappointing. He hasn't really taken his chance when given to him, and he hasn't really lit the Premier League up. So for me, I probably have to pick Reece Nelson.
So I think just a very small point. I think Reece Nelson's season could have been very different if that goal against Chelsea wasn't ruled out. I think just right before he gotten taken off, that was just before he got taken off for someone else. I think his season could have gone a little different. I think he needs that little a goal and a little bit of confidence in him. I've expected a lot from Reece Nelson, more than probably Milik and Saka. And Saka wasn't expected to burst on the scene, but I think we need to have patience with Nelson. I think there's a lot of talent over there, to be honest.
I think you mean
And
the
we need to
Tottenham
give him
game, not
that
the
chance.
Chelsea game, right?
Yeah. Sorry,
The half
yeah,
time. Yeah.
Tottenham. Yeah. So I think his season would have been different after that. I think it was fractionally offside as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not too sure.
I think Kolasinac.
Yeah. I think personally think his season would have been very different right now. We would have probably seen Saka, we would have seen Nelson, because I think straight after that game he was dropped as well.
Yeah, he was dropped after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think last year at Hoffenheim, he was while he did score 7 goals, he was not a regular starter. He would always come off the bench.
Mhm.
I remember, and I may be way off this, but I do remember reading reports of him, not being tardy with practice and with team with coming to team meetings and all that. So, I mean, you'd still you take it with a pinch of salt. He's still young. He's still developing. The corollary of that is you have the likes of Saka, who just burst onto the scene. Been great to watch. Been great fun to watch. But yeah, I think Nelson's a fair shout. And as you guys very rightly said, we expected him to light the stage on fire, and that hasn't happened for various reasons. Give him, I think, another season or so before maybe he actually starts coming. Because again, like, as Ashwin you said, the German league is very different to what happens in England. Maybe that adaptation again to a slightly more physical
league.
much more pacier league will come in due course.
Fair enough. My final question to you guys is something which everyone's been talking about. So far, we played 8 games. How do you rate Emery out of 10 on that?
Wow. I think we can talk about this till the cows come home. Uh, I will give him a 6
Mm-hmm.
purely because of where we are in the league right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we've just lost a single game. We should ideally be 4 points ahead, having dropped points at Watford, having not beaten Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And United.
and United, so that makes 6 points ahead. That would be 5 ahead of City if we'd won those games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I compare, and we've spoken about this in the past pods, the likes of Rogers at Leicester, the who've come in, had less time than Emery hasn't spent as much as Emery has, and they've already established an identity of how they'd like their club to play.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here since he was appointed May of last year, April of last year when Arsenal announced.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it was in June it was announced, and he's been 17 months into a job, 15 months into a job. You should know your best 11. You should know the kind of football you want to play. And I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary of what he wants to be doing with the teams. He seems to be someone would rather not lose a game than actually go for it. It's very. I mean, I understand, and I do. That's what I don't understand why people would like Mourinho, because he has the same mentality. He will shut up shop at 1-0. You will still see the same kind of similar sort of football to what Emery is playing currently. So that comparison, I don't really understand.
But we'd probably be better off defensively with Mourinho.
No, I mean, no, Ashwin. I mean, I understand us being better off defense. You can be a great attacking team. Liverpool is brilliant. They've conceded 6 goals this season, and they're brilliant going forward. And that is primarily down to coaching.
And that's also because they hold the ball a lot better than anybody else, and they basically, if the opposition has the ball,
Klopp has gotten players he's identified what their strengths are. If they're ball playing centre halves or fullbacks, then his style is very adaptive to that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot it's like Socrates expecting Socrates to dribble the ball out is like a bull in a china shop. It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
You can't expect him to do that. And maybe there is then the entire philosophy of, look, I'm okay with holding a 1-0 lead, but while that may be the case, do you have the players who are capable enough to hold a 1-0 lead?
Yeah.
We've over the last few years become a team that's very reliant on confidence. The moment 1 goes in, 2 will go in, 4 will go in. If we're doing well, even if we're leading 3-0, I'm never confident of us seeing a game out. So I think he needs to fix those. The sooner he does these things, the better. I personally don't see him here past December. I've said this on every pod. December is key for us. I think we're going to have a horrible run of games then. Results are not going to go our way. But if we're still scraping through 1-0 wins and we get into the Champions League, well, hey, who am I to complain? I'm Emery in for all that matter. And I just want the final. Sorry, just my last point on this. Whatever decision needs to be made, be it giving him an extension or finding a new coach, do it quick. That's my only thing. Don't dilly-dally about. If it needs to be given to Freddie till the end of the season, fine. But just don't dilly-dally about. If by December it's going to work and we're going to be okay, extend his contract. It'll give him assurance. It'll give the player some sort of security as well. If that's not happening, then pull the plug. Don't faff about.
Do you think it has anything to do with the comments that Rahul came out with by saying that last year we gave we almost made top 4, But this year they've gone and told Emery that you've got a better team and you expect top four. So maybe Emery is
Yeah, no, I
feeling
don't
under
see. I
pressure.
think that's a very fair expectation to
Yeah,
have. I mean, and I don't know what Karan thinks of this, but I'm sure anyone just logically, if he looks at how we've performed, let's say financially and where we are as a club, Champions League football is important to us.
of course.
He was back last year. He's been back this year. He's got nowhere to run if results don't go his way. Maybe that's also playing on his mind. He wants to play safe and not lose games, and he's okay with the 1-0.
Mhm.
But he has to deliver. And if Raul is as ruthless as he's come out with Unai, with the Unai statement, the Ozil situation, the players he's gotten rid of in the summer, and we were all praising him for it, then maybe we can trust him to make that call. That look, if it doesn't work out for whatever rhyme or reason, he's gone. And Emery's head is on the chopping block this season, and there's nowhere to run. He's gotten what he wants. He spent the money, and now he has to deliver. There are no two ways about it.
What do you think, Karan? You think that what Samit says is fair?
Um, it is. I do think what he's saying is fair, but I think again, I think we've spoken about this personally as well. I've, I'm gonna give, like, just on the rating scale, I'm gonna give Emery a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I personally believe that I do understand there's no significant style of play, although I'm giving him a 7 out of 10, which feel, seems like a very higher rating compared to what a lot of Arsenal fans would think.
Mhm.
I just feel that uh, he's done a decent job to get us into a position on the table. You have to understand Arsenal's gone from Arsene Wenger's legacy
Mhm.
to a lot of things changing at the club. That impacts the team, that impacts the manager. We've seen that with United. I think last season was really disappointing, and we were in the top four spot. The last run of games weren't managed well because probably of a lack of personnel, probably a lack of coaching for whatever reason. But this season, we have to get top four. That is the target. Anything else would be a failure, absolutely. Again, when I say this, I still don't see how Emery is our long-term future because uh, Arsenal's DNA is significantly different. I feel personally, and I've been thinking about this a lot this season in terms of what is, when Wenger spoke about it, or when what has been our DNA. And I think we were just listening to him talk. We've heard the legends of the football speech
Agreed.
and stuff like that. I again feel that Arsenal is about giving your unproven and younger players the chance and playing that attractive football. And I think the management has done a great job of forcing Emery's hand. I don't even think he's had a hand in that.
Mhm.
But with whatever he's had at his resources in terms of the management dictating a lot, we have to understand he's a head coach, he's not a manager.
Mhm.
I feel there's a lot of influence coming from Raul. There's probably a little bit of Edu influence also seeping in. That is why probably we're seeing a little bit of confusion in the playing style.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that can get sorted out. And at the same time, he still managed to. We're good in the Carling Cup. We're good in the Europa. We're third in the league.
Mhm.
And I think this season, from a transition point of view, is super important that we get the Champions League. And again, when I've spoken to you, I feel that any board of any company would have certain milestone targets where
Targets.
they would review or assess
Mhm.
a person a person's performance, and
Mhm.
the head coach's performance would there has to be a 18 game a halfway midway season understanding. And if at midway we're not at a particular position that the board expects, I'm sure he'll be gone because the management has been ruthless with a lot of other decisions from this season as well. Rahul has been ruthless with that, but I feel that till that review mark, I, I think he's doing a good job. And I also feel that with Tierney and Bellerin coming back, we'll be able to see a lot more of his style of football,
Mhm.
the kind of football that he wants to play. He's been, I mean, I know he's biding his time to get the right team, which may not be right of a manager. You should be able to do with whatever you have and impose your style of football, which is clearly seen with Klopp and Guardiola and probably even Rogers. But if you look at Leicester, they probably have one of after probably Trent and Robertson, they have for the kind of football we probably want to also play. And Leicester's playing, they have Chilwell and Pereira, who are
Mhm.
fantastic fullbacks. Um, uh, I again feel that um, it it is going to be important for Bellerin and Tierney to come back and have an impact as well. So I'm going to be a little lenient on Emery and give him a 7 out of 10, to be honest.
Fair. I think I've slated Emery constantly, and I constantly keep slating Emery. I'm going to probably have to judge him on two different things. If it's for this season, I'm going to probably have to give him probably like a 6 or a 7 myself, because I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you, and we've done that. Like, however we've done it, even if we've depended on Aubameyang's goals and for him to bail us out at every game, we've still done it. We're still third on the table. But if I had to judge Emery on an overall strategy, structure, planning sort of thing, I probably have to give him like a 4. He came in with so much promise last season. We went on the unbeaten run. We had 1 point to get last season with 8 games to go, and he couldn't get that. And it's that my hatred for Emery, or me not hating, but me wanting Emery out has not started this season. It's a continuation of the last 8 games from last season, and the Chelsea's Europa League final that we had, which he set up. I mean, how can you go away and lose 4-1 to Chelsea? I mean, it's just baffling the way we set up that day, the sort of football we played. And I could see it coming, because even when we played, we played Valencia in the semi-finals. We didn't have great games. We were basically depending on Aubameyang and Lacazette to score goals, and that's exactly how we went through. And I think even I think the quarterfinals with Napoli, Lacazette scored at we 1-0 away at we won 1-0 away at Napoli with Lacazette, and then I think Aubameyang scored at the Emirates, and then we won 2-1 there, 2-0 there. So we were very dependent on goals from those two, and you could see it clearly. If these two don't fire, which is what happened in the finals, we had no chance. We played such bad football in the finals. And anyway, that just moved on to this season. It looks again like we have no plan, we have no structure. He sets out his team at the Emirates, playing two central defensive midfielders against inferior opposition, trying to play on the counter, trying to play as the team that sits back, holds and defends, and like the scared team. And I don't know why we want to do that. The thing is, what worries me is fine, we're third, but the rest of the people under us have been crap. Tottenham are in disarray. United are 12th. If it was any other season, I don't think we'd probably be about 7th or 8th right now, because if Chelsea had a window, the way Lampard is playing football, if Tottenham were not what they were this season, but they were last season, and if United had a decent manager or players that showed up, we'd probably be 7th or 8th right now. And it's just, I'm not saying we're lucky, it's just that we're better than the rest right now, is why we're third. And we're 1 point ahead of Leicester, we're 1 point ahead of Chelsea, we're 2 points or 3 points ahead of Tottenham. That can change very quickly in football. Two bad results, and our next 3 games are, like I think we discussed in the last pod. We have Sheffield United away, we have Wolves at home. No, we have Wolves away, and we have I forget the third team that we have. But they're on paper, those should be winnable games. But the way we play, and I think teams have figured us out now. They realize that we don't want to hold the ball, and we want to play the counter-attacking football. So teams know that if they attack us, we're probably going to crumble at some point, or eventually going to break up at some point, and they know how to get to us, which is what really freaks me out. Like, going to these smaller teams is where I'm not confident anymore as an Arsenal fan that we're going to get 3 points. You know?
I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen it. We've seen it all along. It's something. I mean, if a manager puts out a defensive formation, or is telling you at halftime that we need to protect ourselves,
Mhm.
that is a wrong mindset that is imposed on the players itself as well. I completely agree on that. But I mean, uh, there are a lot of flaws. I just feel that Emery's always, during his career, been a percentage manager, in terms of, like, he's always been an underdog, so he's played a certain style of football. Only with PSG and Arsenal, he's got a squad that can be now competing with the best of the best,
Mhm.
and there is a different landscape that he needs to adapt to.
Yeah.
And I think he's been, it's a very, I mean, just as an individual, it's a very difficult situation to be in, is to either rely back on what your career has been based on what kind of philosophy of football that you played, or how you won games or challenged, right? And I feel that um, there's a lot of significant influence that Edu can have over here. I'm sure he's just come in to the club. He'll take another 6 months to settle in, but but there are there are, I mean, with the squad at least, and with the management, I am positive that this can turn around, right? With and again, I'm trying to look at the positives over here. I just feel that I wouldn't want to write off Emery until the 18th game of this season.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to do that at all. Uh, we've seen what is happening in United. I know what happened last season with the Europa Cup final, and with we should have got top four, but I just feel that it was a transition season. We need to get back to the Champions League right now. That season's gone. We need to back Emery 110%,
Mhm.
And I'm just hoping that there are a lot of other factors that can influence the style of football we play as well. I'm happy with the transition and counter-attacking football that if he's trying to play that. I'm fine that we don't dominate the play, but I'm just looking at the players being a lot more confident against inferior oppositions. We know what the plan is, as you said, right? Instead of just having a game plan that is in disarray, we have a strong, solid game plan. That's what I'm looking at. That's where I also expect him to
Improve.
show that particular improvement. But I feel we're still in the early part of the season, and I think we're in a good position to go higher. It
Mhm.
can we've all seen it. We've seen it with Wenger as well, how things can just go from good to worse, right? So I mean, but I wouldn't want to write him off until mid season at least.
I agree. I think there's room for improvement. Can do much better. There is. It's gonna be tough. Which is why, at the risk of repeating myself, I think December will make or break. I think by the end of December, we're midway through the season, before the year starts off, anyways. And as Karan rightly says, let's give him time to see how it progresses.
Mhm.
Raul has been great for us in the decisions that he's been making. Seems like the Ozil one will also be the right decision. Might not be favorable for few people who are his fans. I think he still has a lot to offer us, but I don't think that is the path we're going to be moving with anyways.
Mhm.
But yeah, at least with Emery, it seems like Raul has given him an ultimatum of
Top four.
Champions League or bust. And also, I think it was Karan who made the point that I don't think he's gone. Even if we do get Champions League, I don't think he's going to be around very much longer after the season. I think he's just a transitional manager before we can maybe attract a bigger name or a more established name or someone who comes with a certain pedigree of having won the biggest trophies. So yeah, let's wait and watch. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be nerve wracking. It will always remain tumultuous watching us play.
Mhm.
Our weeks will go defined on how we play football. And yeah, let's fingers crossed for Emery, fingers crossed for Arsenal. I don't want him to not. I don't want him to fail. Him failing leads to Arsenal not doing well, so I don't ever want that to happen. Just I guess just hold on to the edge of our seats and uh, hope for the best, because it's gonna be fun. Well, if it's not fun, it's at least be interesting. Give us something to talk about on the pod at least.
So I know the two of you just mentioned this right now, but my final question to you guys before we end the podcast is: if we make top four, do you guys want to see Emery given the extension or not?
No, I don't want him around.
Karan?
No, I don't want him around. But I was just thinking about this. But then who? I mean, I'm not saying Emery is the man for the job.
Mhm.
We have to be. I feel I don't mind that we have this 2 year transition,
Mhm.
which may not be the best for in terms of results and where we are in the table and in terms of the football we play. But the management can put a proper plan in terms of the base and the core of the team that we're building and get in the right man for the job that can get us back to where we belong, and someone who can understand our values, culture, and the DNA of Arsenal. Maybe that's an ex-Arsenal man itself. I don't know, but
Uh,
I don't mind waiting that 2 years for transition because this, like we've seen it with Ferguson, this someone like Wenger leaving the club after 22 years, it's a big transition. It's a big transition in a lot of different ways, and that can go anywhere for a club. So I'm happy that we're stable right now, and I don't want to see this spiraling down. I only want to keep this going up, and for that you need to build a strong foundation again.
Yeah, no, agree with Karan. Agree with him. I think completely. There's someone else, yes, but I look at us and I look at United, and they've had what 4 managers since Ferguson's left. That squad is just not good enough.
It's not as bad as where they are right now.
It's not as bad as where they are, but Ferguson with lesser squads has won them league titles.
Of course.
And that was the aura of men like Wenger, men like Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson won the Champions League. Won the Premier League with a terrible squad. We went to the Champions League final with a makeshift, patched up back four. So, and that is what the likes of legacy managers like Ferguson and Wenger brought to the table. Who do we see moving forward? I don't know. I think money's out on who we could bring in.
Would you go with somebody with the experience with like an Allegri, or would you go for somebody like a young guy, somebody from the German league, the Austrian league, one of those guys?
No, I mean, yeah, I definitely like to see that. I'd like to see someone. Well, let me put this way. I'm pretty name agnostic. I want someone to come in who has a philosophy that blends in with what Arsenal is about. And Arsenal has been about entertaining, fast, free-flowing football. And I'd like to see that. But of course, if we get someone pragmatic who's winning us league titles by just scraping through results, getting us wins when we need them, finally going and dominating big teams or scraping by results and getting us silverware, I'm okay with that. I don't have any names at this point. I think the names that I've always wanted us to become our managers are already employed. I would definitely want to see Pep at Arsenal. I think he wanted to come to Arsenal as well. I don't think that's now going to happen. Klopp was another one of my picks that I'd like to see him come in. Or even, I mean, out of left field, if we can get someone like a Bielsa who has that hard running philosophy, who's got a certain way how he likes to play football. He's done great at Leeds. And yeah, maybe someone like that. Maybe we need a firm hand, someone who tears into players when they need it, but it's all for the better. And we've seen what happens when players get their own way under Arsene, who would just let them be them. So, but maybe like a Bielsa would be great. But not right now. I don't think. I think we can cross that bridge once we get to it. But so far, let's just hope Emery can get into the top 4, and then we have our pick of managers.
I just feel that if he gets us top 4, the club will not want to destabilize the club again by getting a new manager and having a new philosophy. I think they probably give him another 6 months. I mean, they give him the extension for another year, but they probably give him another 6 months to see where we are in Jan, post that, and then probably take a decision after that. I don't think if he makes top 4, they're going to sack him. That's my feeling.
I mean, they won't sack him, but then that's just 2-year contract, right?
Yeah. 2 years with an extension. It's actually a 3-year deal where I think it's performance related, where you get a third year on your performance. So if its target is top 4, that's his performance target met, which makes him eligible for the third year, I think. And then I think the club will not want to destabilize any further again and have another chop and change, because then it could go wrong. Suppose we put in somebody else. Suppose we get someone like an Allegri, and it doesn't work out for us. Again, there's going to be a problem, right? So
right, but the opposite end of that question would then be, you give him an extension, and by December we're struggling to make it to top 4.
Yeah.
You would not be able to then attract a big name manager or someone who can turn it around. So
I think Arsenal will always attract a big manager. Whatever said and done, they're a big London club. Look at United. Okay, they're the biggest club in the world commercially, but wherever they are, they will always sit and attract a top manager, and they will attract the top players. It's the same for Arsenal as well. I feel, okay, we're not as big as United commercially, but we're a London-based club. We're a club with culture. We're a club with history. I mean, Arsene Wenger has done a lot in France for Arsenal as well, right? So a lot of people, young players, want to come and join Arsenal. They've heard of Arsenal. People around the world have heard about Arsenal. So I don't think it'll ever be it'll be an issue. I mean, obviously, if you have to pay the likes of Pep and all from City or Klopp to come, and you're going to have to pay them extraordinary wages, I don't think we'd probably do that. But I don't think we'd ever have a problem attracting the top managers.
No, absolutely. Again, I don't know. I mean, in a fairy tale situation, I would want an ex-Arsenal man to come back to Arsenal and manage the club because they understand the club the best.
Mm.
Again, I mean, the two names that I can think of right now, probably Patrick Vieira or Mikel Arteta, but Arteta is just being groomed to take over at City, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do understand why we probably did a U-turn on Arteta. I understand that sentiment then, I understand it right now. But I just feel that if you're in a position where Emery has got us top four, but we don't still have a coherent uh, style of football, uh, then I feel that Edu and Rahul and the management would look at kind of uh, getting in someone who can give us that style of football, and they would kind of probably. I know things can go bad, but they would at that point of time appoint a manager that can help us play that style of football and challenge for honors as well. Um, you need a manager like Klopp or Guardiola or um, just someone with like that distinctive style who can help you challenge. I'm hoping Emery can be that guy, but if not, we will go out and look out for that person. I'm sure the management is on that as well. I'm pretty confident of that. At least I would like to believe that.
All right. Fair enough, guys. Thanks for coming on the show, Karan. And it's been great
Yeah,
having
Thanks,
you
Karan.
here.
Yeah, it's been great. I think this fresh face, and I think people are tired of watching our two mugs every weekend.
Consciously
So,
rant about every.
but this has been great, Karan. I think uh, thank you so much for taking time off on a Saturday afternoon.
No, no.
And international breaks are always hard. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again whenever
Absolutely.
your schedule can make it. And yeah, Ashwin, final
So
parting comments.
just know you go, Karan. If you would like to just share out your socials with everybody so that they can
Yeah,
follow you.
So I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter. Probably might find me bashing Emily a little bit, but I'm on Twitter at Karan Chechani and Instagram at Chechani, so you can find me there. It's been really great to be on this podcast. I think Ashwin and I have been talking and watching Arsenal since a while now, so it's been a pleasure to be on this, and I think I've been interacting with you, Samrit, on the group as
yeah.
well. Uh, uh, so it's been great. Feel free to just let me know whenever you all want a fresh face or when you all run out of fresh faces as well. Happy to jump on and just talk Arsenal all the time.
Yeah.
That's great. So, guys, like I mentioned at the start of the video, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon just in case you get notifications every time we come up with a video. Please like us. We're on Twitter. We call the Arsenal Away, and you can please subscribe to our channel on the. It's great. We'll probably see you next week. Thank you for this, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Thanks, Karan. Bye.
Take care.